Hey guys, RagingRaptor here, and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video. And today we'll have a look at the whole grind of the wheeled vehicles, which were recently added in 1.4. I am finally a proud holder of the EBR 105 Panhard with using 200,000 free experience to get modules, but that about it. I grinded through every single tank, the tier 6, the tier 7, the tier 8 and tier 9 tank when they were full elite. Maybe even the tier 8 tank halfway was just grinding with the second best gun before I decided to go for the best gun when frontline came around. But yeah, today I want to talk a little bit about my journey, about which tanks are the hidden gems in the line, if the tier 10 is even worth it, and what you need to look forward to or need to look out of. Like, what you need to look out for. That is what I wanted to say. Overall, I played this tank cruise with a full female crew because those tanks are pretty skill hungry, because you need few range skills. The good thing is that your radio operator is solely radio operator, meaning that you can put situational awareness on him and that's it. It's not on the commander, and the commander needs to learn 5 skills, it's just 4. So that's a good plus. But sadly enough, the commander is also your loader, meaning, yeah man, if the commander dies, you are a little bit bumped. That's a little bit of a problem. The good thing also is throughout the whole line, the crew layout is not changing. So when the Panhard EBR 75 FL10 is coming around as a premium tank, you have the best possible crew trainer for all the tanks in the line. But now guys, let's start with the quick introduction to the line with the Amex ELC bis. Not much to say. Don't be a pussy. Play it with the 120 penetration gun, or rather the 240 damage gun, the 90mm gun. It's a blast. You get to love it. You get to know and love this tank. It's a great tank when you know what you're doing, and it's a keeper basically. But now, 32,000 experience later, you are at the Panhard 187 AMD B. The first wheeled vehicle in World of Tanks you as a normal human being without paying any monies can play. And that's pretty cool because, yeah, you get used to the new mechanic. But the problem is, this tank doesn't really feel like a wheeled vehicle. The big problem is, I had one guy in a battle which said, dude, this tank is so freaking adorable. I love it. I have to free market. I'm like, nah man, the tank doesn't really feel that good. It's just super meh. There's nothing else to say. The problem is, it feels sluggish to accelerate. It feels sluggish to turn. The gun is meh, and you have garbage view range, 300 meters. That's so bad. And one of the biggest problems is, this tank has a huge profile. The only redeeming factor is that the left side of the vehicle, where there is a spare wheel attached to the side, gives you actually some spaced armor against AG. But that's it. Nothing else. This is like the only redeeming factor, that it has this spaced armor in quotation marks. The problem is that this tank is just so big and so tall that it is pretty hard to hide some things in it, or try to hide this tank. In total, with boosters, I needed 40 games to finish this tank, 60% win rate solo, so that was neat, I guess, but again, it doesn't feel that good. Like, to be honest, I really dislike the tank. I don't think it's a good introduction to the wheeled vehicles. The real, well, you have good HE, don't get me wrong. You have 75mm of penetration, which will be the same on tier 7. But you only have 175 damage with that HE. It's not too bad, but it kind of misses the punch you would wish for. And yeah, I guess we just went through it in 40 games, grinded the 63k experience, was it? 61.8k experience to the EBR Hotchkiss. And there we get the first hidden gem. The EBR Hotchkiss is really great. It is a menacing tank, and people definitely need to look out because of that vehicle. Like, against other light tanks, Not the Russian tanks, because let's be honest, the Russian lights are mediums. Especially the T100 LT. Fuck that tank, seriously. But the EBR Hotchkiss is a beast. It's a predator. Like this is what you imagine a predator against other light tanks, which aren't Russians. The gun is phenomenal, in my opinion. It is fast, 70 kilometers forward. It was 45 kilometers backward, still good. Sadly, it doesn't have the boost mode anymore, which is a pity, but damn, man, like 260 damage every 5.7 seconds when you are using AG. 75 millimeters of penetration is more than enough to nail enemy AMX 1375, for example. A friend of mine which is grinding this tank at the moment says that he frets, like he shivers when he sees an EBR Hotchkiss in the enemy team, because he knows he has almost no counterplay against this vehicle, because he does not have enough damage in his clip to one-clip this tank. Where meanwhile, this tank is just going to easily trade with you. You do 100 damage, 110, 150 damage, he deals 260. Youch, that hurts. And this is what makes this tank so fun, in my opinion. It's a really good introduction to how the wheeled vehicles will feel in later stages of the game, and how just simply they feel. Like, it is a fast vehicle, it is nimble, it looks even funky, it looks good actually. The only big problem is that this tank once more has just shitty fuel range. 310 meters. And this was also the first vehicle I've decided to buy the improved optics for. As the improved optics will be necessary or will be good for later stages in the game, or rather for the tier 9 and tier 10 tank, especially the tier 10 tank, to get to the juicy 445 meters mark plus some more, depending how the crew is, depending what vents you're using, depending if you're using ratios. And about rations, from the tier 8 onwards, I would highly suggest to you guys to use rations, because yeah, it has to be noted this tank line is high skill cap, and this tank line is expensive in a matter of sense, not because of the guns or anything. You can play most of those tanks stock without big deals, I think, but they are expensive in the sense of, yeah, you almost have to play them with rations. Otherwise, you just miss those 10% more fuel range. And at the moment, it is very important to have a decent amount of fuel range to get even the slightest camo breaking is important, because the higher you go, basically, you just get outspotted. And that feels bad. It really does feel bad. And this is where it comes apparent in the tier 8 tank, but I'm not finished yet with talking how good the tier 7 is. Now seriously guys, the tier 7 is a hidden gem, and is probably my second favorite tank in this line. Well, third favorite when we are taking the AMX ELC base, because that's my favorite tank in the whole French line. But back to the EBR Hotchkiss, it's the second best tank in my opinion from the wheeled vehicles which were added. Definitely worthy. Great tank, and I can highly suggest to everybody of you to play this tank. And before we go to the AML Lynx 6x6, if you enjoyed the video, please consider to subscribe and maybe give me a like. But what I would really love to hear from you guys is if you would share this video with your friends, with your clanmates, with, I don't freaking know, websites or even. Because it is really hard as a small YouTuber on World of Tanks and World of Tanks subjects to get through those big boys which are basically gathering everything, every view, every subs. So yeah, if you enjoy my videos, please consider sharing it with your friends, with your family, even if they're playing World of Tanks, I don't know. But yeah, now we come to the AML Lynx 6x6, the first tank which has a 90mm gun in the game, or in the tree, excuse me. It is basically a tank or a wheeled vehicle from 1980, but in this game it just feels trash. Once more, I used to play this tank with improved optics, and I play this tank with strong coffee with durations, because otherwise you just miss the view range. One thing I noticed with this tank when you're playing in general, it's a box. It's a literal box on wheels. When the Excalibur is a box on tracks, this is a box on wheels. It's like those weird looking car. I don't remember. I think it's an American one. Is it a Chevrolet of something? It just looks so weird. And it's boxy. And this tank is basically the same thing, this wheeled vehicle, the Lynx. It's a box on wheels. And the problem is with the box design on wheels, you might think, oh, look at that, it actually has boxes on the side. Probably just like 1 millimeter of armor and able to detonate HE shells. Guys, you are terrible wrong. Detonating HE shells with this tank is not possible. You have 30 millimeters of armor with no spaced armor whatsoever. And that makes this tank frustrating to play, because even the new M41D can penetrate you with HE, even though it only has 38 millimeters of penetration. And this makes this tank so fragile to play, it's infuriating. Like, it feels so bad. Like, I couldn't make this tank to work in random battles. I think the problem is that there's too big of a gap between tier 8 and tier 10 vehicles. That's my theory, that the gap is simply too big. The gap in view range, you get outspotted left and right, and it's definitely not enjoyable to play. And yeah, I do not recommend playing this tank in normal games. What I do recommend though is playing this tank in frontline, because this tank in frontline feels absolutely stunning. Like, it feels great. Nothing else to say except that it feels great. With improved optics, with rations, with brothers in arms, with view range skills, with Inspire Reserve, and you can take free reserves with this tank, you can get 445 meters plus view range, which is awesome. And yeah, guys, this is where you actually start to feel how amazing those tanks are in frontline. Because you're driving 80 kilometers. 80 with ease, around, a breeze. Hunting sky piggies left and right when you're defender. It feels phenomenal. The problems still are that you have no armor, and there are tanks like the M41 90 GF or German Bulldog. There are artilleries which want to pen you, hit you, obviously, and you get a lot of splash damage too. You miss sometimes view range, but you can compensate that with a spotter plane, or as already said, with the Inspire Reserve. And yes, you have a great gun after all. The top gun, as well as the mediocre gun, the medium gun, they still both are 90mm guns. And even to be honest, the middle gun is better than the top gun, because you have heat as premium ammunition against Stritzwagen S1s frontally. But both guns, the medium and the big gun, or the best gun, have the high explosive OE shells with 90mm of penetration, 320 damage. There is nothing better to be able to pen a prosciutto in the side or in the rear, and they're like, fuck, what was that? And then you slap them again with a nice HE shot. It just feels so, you deserve that, you little cunt, for playing Spaghetto in frontline, because we all know that Spaghetto is pretty strong in frontline anyway. So the AML Lynx 6x6 is a blast to play in frontline, and I have to say, after grinding through those tanks and now not being able to play the Lynx anymore in frontline, I miss it. I really do miss it, and I think it's a pity that I can't play the Lynx anymore in frontline. Because yes, I do need to grind credits, and I'm really looking forward to play the Panhard EBR 75 FL10, the premium tank, premium Panhard, because it should be coming around next week or in 2 weeks with a marathon, which would be cool. It would be really cool. And let's be honest, it will feel so cool, because guys, it basically drives 80 forwards, 80 backwards, has 75mm of penetration, 260 damage on HE. It has a clip which can deliver up to 520 damage with HE. Oh man, I'm so looking forward to play this tank on frontline, the premium. The Lynx, anyway, you guys need to play it in frontline. It feels so good in frontline, really. But now, after grinding through this tank, I think at around 180,000 experience, was it? 191,000 experience, and a lot of experience already get wasted into the engines. roughly another 35,000. But then you get, in my personal opinion, the best tank in the line. The Panhard EBR 90. It makes it does everything better than tier 8 does. It feels so good. Jeez Louise. Like, when you come from the tier 8 tank to the tier 9 tank, you have a little bit of jizz in your pants. Like, it's so good. Like, oh man, I love it. I honestly love this tank, and I am 100% sure that when I finish the Chimera mission, that the woman get into that tank ASAP, because I want to play this tank again. It's just so much goddamn fun to play. Everything you have on the Lynx is getting turned up to 11 on the EBR 90. You're faster forwards and backwards, you have better view range, you have better stabilization, you have a so much smaller silhouette, better camo, and a better gun when you are going for the big gun, and it feels so good, guys. Like, seriously, I honestly recommend everybody of you to play the tank up to tier 9 and just leave it at tier 9. The tier 9 tank is such in a great spot for pleasure. Like, I didn't have fun in this game for a long time, except for the EBR 90. This tank saved so much of myself. Like, seriously, it's such a fucking fun tank to play. I'm sorry for the F-bomb, but it does everything better than the tier 8 does. And you can feel the upgrade. It feels like a tier 10 vehicle, to be honest. If they would give this tank the same view range as a tier 10 vehicle and same forwards and backwards speed as a tier 10 vehicle, this would be the tier 10 tank, period. You don't need a 105mm gun. This is the tier 10 tank you're looking forward to. And I think for most of you guys, just stop. You're saving yourself from trouble and from rage. The tier 9 tank is what you want. Seriously, it's just so amazing, because the one big thing about the tier 9 and the tier 10 tank is the tier 9 is a tier 9 tank. It is a tier 9 tank, meaning you have better matchmaking overall. You can screw over tier 7 vehicles, which, yes, is mean, but honestly, sometimes it's just so much fun. The tier 10 tank is much more prone to just solely have tier 10 games, which gets stale after a while. Plus, in tier 10 games, so many people have so much view range that you just get outspotted, even though you have 45% camouflage on the move with camo crew. The tier 9 tank, on the other hand, you're just in the perfect spot. And I know I already said so much about this tank, but it just feels so good. Oh man, it was a breeze. It was so much fun to play, especially in Platoon. And during the grind I got to around 78% gun mark with 73 games left or played. And yeah, I didn't even got first class. I think that a lot of other people finally found out that this tank is freaking bonkers, broken, or fun to play. It performs so gosh darn well, and it's such a fucking fun tank to play. Because one thing which is important to know, that compared to the tier 10 tank, the tier 10 tank feels really, really finicky to drive. This tank doesn't somewhat. This tank feels so much better to drive. But yeah, I already spoiled you guys a little bit, but now we are at the tier 10 tank, and I guess you already know my my opinion. Stay at the tier 9. The tier 9 is just so much more fun. I do not know yet if the tier 10 is going to be worth in Clan Wars. We'll see. I have to ask our field commanders if they think that the tier 10 tank is actually worth something or not. But yes, to be honest, the tier 10 tank is so much worse tier for tier compared to the tier 9. One thing which is really annoying is that you have such a long reload time. You have 10 seconds basically, 9.85 with improved vents and rations. And meanwhile, the tier 9 is comfortably sitting at 6.4 seconds reload time with normal vents, with normal equipment and rations. And this is already a big deal because you can do a lot more with the tier 9 tank because you have more follow-up shots. You can perma-detract enemies, you can easier land follow-up shots, and it's not that bad if you miss a shot. The tier 10 tank, yes, has amazing stabilization, especially if you're using a vertical stab. It's like you're not even aiming anymore. You don't even need to aim because it's so accurate. But I went with the vents and with the optics and with tank gun rammer because, as already said, the DPM is pretty bad. And let's be fair, if you really want to penetrate a guy, you need to get to his side, and when you are circling somebody, which those tanks obviously can do very, very well, then you have their sides or wait for their sides anyway, and you don't need a word stab for that anyway. So, yeah. Overall, the grind for the tier 10 tank was not worth it, in my personal opinion. Yes, you are fast, you're the fastest tank in the game, 95 kilometers per hour. You have great HE, and I see probably the fun, but I still need to play more games to actually see the fun in the Panhard EBR 105. But the tier 9 tank, is where it is at, my guys. The tier 9 tank is the best tank in this line, and it's so much fun to play, and yeah. I highly recommend to all of you guys to play this tank. But yeah, that does it now, guys. This is my personal grind review and my personal opinion video onto those wheeled vehicles. What do you think about those? Are they just pesky little ants which are speeding around like Speedy Gonzales or meeping around, or do you actually think they're a good addition to the game? To be fair, I don't really think that the tier 10 tank is going to make too much of a difference. The tier 9 tank, however, is where it's at, and I think the tier 9 tank is just so much fun to play. So go play it, really. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, if you liked the video, to leave it a like, maybe share it with your friends, and when you're new, subscribe. I definitely enjoy new subscribers. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye bye.